Today, Joe Biden changes his mind and decides to travel to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Nancy Pelosi gets special treatment to go get her hair did. And California passes a bill to help LGBT pedophiles. Yes, you won't believe what's coming up, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by Jason Buttrill, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program, and also one of my personal favorites.
Thank you.
Oh, no, not you. It's the sheriff. Sheriff Bill Wayburn, sheriff of Tarrant County, local sheriff here, and just an all-around joy to be with.
Thank you.
So thank you.
To be with you.
And then again, there's Jason. I don't know. We'll get into the headlines.
I'm still throwing off my game from that whole pedophile story. I didn't even see that. So
well, it's good to know that one of our guests prepped for the
Came
show.
Prepared.
Should be a great show, everyone. So Joe Biden, after just ripping into President Trump for his Kenosha visit, he made this big deal and said that he would not visit Kenosha. He said he wanted to prevent upsetting peaceful nature of protests. He now says that he is going to visit Kenosha tomorrow. Actually, this was the 2 days after President Trump goes to visit Kenosha. And you got to wonder how behind these pollsters are over in the Democrat camp, because, it's 100 days of riots. Nothing to see here, people. These are just peaceful protests. Joe Biden doesn't speak out against them. All of a sudden, riots are really bad, you guys, and you probably should not loot and burn down buildings. And now, I'm not visiting there. I wouldn't want to upset the peaceful protesters. And then all of a sudden, well, I guess it was a really good visit for Donald Trump. Yeah, I think I'm going to go there. What is going on?
They don't know. I seriously don't think they know.
I know Joe Biden doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, we know that for a fact.
What about his people?
He's not sure if he's alive. I don't think.
No, but neither are we.
Yeah, right. I think they're so taken aback because their strategy was, let's just let Main Street USA burn. Let's let it burn. We think that this will turn in our favor. We can blame Donald Trump for all this. Seriously, I think this was their strategy. They were egging it on from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Really, this has been a strategy for the last 2 years, really, of egging violence on. But then it turns out that Americans don't like rioting. Who'd have thunk that? They don't like violence. And once they figured that out and they saw those initial polls come out, then you finally saw Joe Biden come out against, denounce the violence. Only then. So they're playing a catch-up game, the reactionary. Then they thought this was going to be horrible for Donald Trump to go to Wisconsin. Then they found out that it wasn't horrible. They didn't erupt in violence. And then he pledged, what was it, like $40-something million to help them rebuild. Million. So then they're like, now we have to react to that. They are way behind right now, and they know it. They know they're in trouble, and they're playing catch up. And the problem, one of the things that they think, and this is an issue for them, is they think we're all stupid. They think that we didn't notice the fact that they were egging all the violence on in the beginning. They think that we didn't notice that only now are they coming out. Now, everyone knows. You made that bed, now they're going to have to lay in it.
Yeah. What do you think, Sheriff?
Well, I agree with what Jason was saying there. I don't think they realize it. And poor Mr. Vice President Biden, I hope he knows he's going to Wisconsin and not Oklahoma. But
we'll see.
We'll see. And but it is interesting to me that they are behind, and that they thought Antifa is just a myth. I believe Congressman Nader said that that's a myth. So here they are once again, that they are not buying into or acknowledging the evil that is going on, and more importantly, I think they do know it, and they're egging it on and thinking it's going to be good for them in the polls. And I think it's going to come back to haunt them on November 3rd.
Absolutely. And the danger of just that, when Nadler said that, it's a myth, they don't exist, then a member of Antifa goes and executes a Trump supporter. They don't think there's any consequences for any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Nuts.
Well, so what is your view, Sheriff, on, I feel you are uniquely qualified to speak on, Jason mentioned it earlier, the president pledging $42 million to support public safety in the state through law enforcement and prosecutors, an additional $1 million to Kenosha police, and then there's a $4 million that will go to local businesses for recovery. But what are your thoughts on the the president being in a federal position, pledging all of this money to support public safety in the state?
Well, I appreciate it. And by the way, that federal money is our money.
Yeah.
And I think Kenosha has done the right thing. They saw that they couldn't handle it. The president sent in the troops, quietened it down, no more violence. But yet they've got to reclaim that. I'm sure it has cost them a great deal of money and a great deal of equipment that was expended during that. And of course, we saw those businesses where it looks like a bombed out village.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
that's what it
yeah,
looks
it really
does. And I think that us rebuilding that, we're their neighbors,
right,
because they are going to keep the peace there. I think that's the neighborly thing to do, and I think it's a good thing.
Does it change your mind if you consider, like, let's say how Minneapolis handled it, or the cities that they have mayors who actually tell the police, they tell law enforcement to stand down to let these things happen and then come back later and ask for federal money?
I think those we should not send a dime to.
Okay.
I think those mayors that allow that to burn, then you figure it out.
Yeah.
You figure out what's going to bring people back.
What do you think, Jason?
You said that was the next point I was going to make, is if you're going to pledge money to give it to police departments, law enforcement agencies in these states, well, then it's then on the governors and the mayors to let them do their dang jobs. And same for the prosecutors. Like, this is like in Oregon, where they're actually letting them assault law enforcement officers and then say, hey, well, consider their intent before they punch you in the face. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
Right.
So we can give this, great, the president's giving this money, but now it's on the people of Wisconsin, from the local governments all the way up to the state. Let the people that do their jobs and not hold them back.
Absolutely.
Which is a great time to bring up Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, who has been notorious for that, just, letting Antifa kind of take over the streets of Portland. And then you gotta love, he's like, yeah, let's just let them do all this. We'll just wait and let it burn out itself. And then they attack, of course, him. I think we covered this earlier in the week, but Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, he got kind of a surprise when it turns out that they'll come after you too. And he had fireworks shot off outside his apartment. Here's a little bit of that. Well, it turns out he has decided he's going to move. He is going to move. It turns out he doesn't like feeling unsafe in his apartment. Who knew?
Yeah, he can move to Timbuktu if he wants to. If he still enables violent criminals to continue to do this. It doesn't matter where he goes and runs and hides, whatever. And it got worse than that. I think when the police, because they did say that they were holding the police back not to escalate the situation, which that sounds ridiculous to me. Like, what? I mean, is it law enforcement's job to escalate or de-escalate? I can imagine, like in the situation, if someone is getting crazy, to try and de-escalate the situation. But I mean, I just don't understand these tactics, what they expect to happen. I think what actually called them finally in was when someone was doing exactly at the federal courthouse in Portland, that they were doing there. They were knocking out windows and throwing in like Molotov cocktails. Yeah.
So, and Sheriff, I want to get your thoughts on escalation, de-escalation, what Jason was talking about. But let's watch, because Jason's right. So they actually took it a step further. The rioters actually set fires inside the apartment building. I believe that we have a clip of that. Let's watch that. For those of you listening on podcasts, the building says cops equal KKK with spray paint all over it. Several fires burning inside. So, as Jason was saying, Sheriff, how would a law enforcement officer say to his people, well, let's just not go. You don't want to escalate the situation when this is happening.
I cannot imagine ever giving that order, is that here we need to engage. These people aren't going to be talked out of anything. We need to go and engage them and put them in jail. They are thuggery, outlaws, and warring. They're warring on us. And this mayor there that has now been attacked, isn't it amazing? It's kind of like an old Twilight Zone movie. He's feeding the aliens that have invaded, thinking they won't come after him. And oh my gosh, here they are. They're going to eat him too. It's amazing.
It happened to Lori Lightfoot as well.
Yes, it did.
They showed up at her house.
Oh yeah. Oh, but she didn't ban all the protests, just the ones around her house.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
If you see them, look at they feel like there's no consequence to their actions. Like they feel like, oh, they've let us do this in the past. We can continue to do it. And the thing is that's what is enabling these other riots and violence to spread everywhere else. They look at the coasts and they see no consequence. None. Even if they get arrested, they're let go. Someone will bail them out, and the DA will just drop the charges because I don't know why. I don't know what they expect to get out of that. Earn political points or something. I don't know. But it's causing more to break out all over the place. I tell you what, if that stuff. When that shooting happened in Wisconsin, I guarantee you all of them thought the same thing. Nothing bad is going to happen. The mayor was like, I'm just assuming this is what was going on, but yeah, stay back. Don't let them go wild. Let them go crazy. Nothing will happen. But now you're in flyover country, and that doesn't sit well. So but I'm not saying people should. I'm not going to say that people should show up armed to some of these places, but that's what's going to happen. If you don't let police do that job, then citizens are going to exercise their Second Amendment right to protect their property. It's just going to happen, and that's when real violence is going to happen.
So what do you mean by when you say you think that the mayors just said let them go wild and nothing's going to happen? But if they're going wild, I mean, certainly something would happen, right?
Yeah. Specifically from Kenosha, I remember them saying that the mayor had instructed the police department to stand back because they did not want to inflame the situation. And we saw the videos from Elijah Schaffer. Like there was, if at any point that was the time to send an overwhelming force into that area and shut that down, but they didn't. So literally, what do you expect? I heard a lot of people, they were trying to get a gotcha question on the president, and I think even McEnany during a press conference. They're like, should armed civilians be showing up to this place? And he kept saying, and their answer was always, we feel that law enforcement should be allowed to do their job. Right. That's what they kept saying. And I understand they were trying to say he was dodging the question. No, he wasn't. He was saying, look, because you're not allowing law enforcement in there, citizens have to do it themselves. There's no other choice. Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that, Sheriff?
I absolutely agree with that. The law enforcement steps down, then you have to do it yourself. And we've seen that happen in small towns already, and where here comes Black Lives Matter and Antifa into town, and all of a sudden the good citizens show up and say, not here, not now. And by the way, they didn't get away with anything in those towns because they weren't going to stand down. They weren't going to back up. So the citizens still have the right. That's the uniqueness about America. You can't invade us because all of us got guns, and we're not going to put up with that, and we understand liberty and freedom, and we're not going to back away from that.
This is why sheriffs are going to win this battle for us. It's like every time, like sheriffs have such a hard job because when things get really, really bad, like if a Joe Biden becomes president and they start actually asking us to do unconstitutional things, there's no other stop for that.
Right.
There's none. It's like I can't imagine the situation you'd be in. It'd be like, okay, force this weapon round up.
Yeah, go door to door and knock on people's doors in Texas.
No, we're not going to do that. I mean, gosh.
That's not going to go well. A little spoiler alert for everyone out there. That's not going to go well, at least here in Texas.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
We've got
not going to happen.
A lot more coming up. First, we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Omega XL. So if you are one of many Americans, by the way, who you just live with constant pain, maybe it's back pain, knee pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, you don't realize that oftentimes the underlying cause of that pain is inflammation. And if you're doing anything other than treating the inflammation, not only are you just masking the problem, you could also cause permanent damage by not dealing with the root cause. Omega XL is backed by 35 years of clinical research, and it actually attacks the inflammation that is causing your pain. So you will get to the root cause of that problem. You're not just going to rub icy hot on it and be like, this feels really great for 20 minutes. And then after that, I'm in constant pain again. Omega XL neutralizes the inflammation that is causing your painful joints and muscles. And it is a powerful fatty acid combination from New Zealand, I like how they say this, the pristine waters of New Zealand. So it is natural. And again, you don't have to live with just constant pain. I know what it's like. I had some back problems from a car accident that I got in several years ago. And it really is life-changing when you find a product like Omega XL that you can incorporate into your life and get you out of pain. It will change everything. You can get started now. Order Omega XL and get a second bottle for free. You can go to omegaxl.com/news. Get that second bottle for free by going to omegaxl.com/news. Back in a minute. All right, Nancy Pelosi. It's always a good day when Nancy Pelosi is under fire for something. Today, it is because she visited recently. She was caught on camera having her hair done in a San Francisco salon, despite the fact that the city has not allowed the establishment to offer services for like months and months and months because of coronavirus. They are still... Salon owners are about to be able to offer services, this is crazy, outside, but not this one because they use, toners, hair color products, and you can't use chemicals outside. So they can't even open their doors at all. Nancy Pelosi allegedly had a staffer contact this salon, say, hey, we really need you guys to open the salon for Nancy Pelosi. She's really got to get her hair done. They opened it specifically for her. Yes, Jason.
That's an important point of the story because there's text messages that back that claim up.
Yes, correct. Yeah, because that's not what you're hearing from Nancy Pelosi's camp. However, the text messages do indicate that the staffer did contact this hair salon and ask for the preferential treatment. So there you saw Nancy Pelosi on camera footage. Now, you'll notice this was surveillance camera footage, because the salon owner, not so happy. The salon owner is pissed because she says, I've been closed for all this time. The city of San Francisco, the governor of California, you guys have forced us to close our doors. I can't feed my family. I'm a single mom. And yet Nancy Pelosi thinks that she can walk in here with no mask on, no social distancing, and just come in and get her hair done while the rest of us, I guess, starve. And so she's getting hit pretty hard for that. Now, they did say, I can't believe this either, Jason. They did say, her camp said, the speaker always wears a mask and complies with local COVID requirements. And she said, I didn't realize I was doing anything wrong. I actually just saw an update to this story as well, that she came out and is now saying that they set her up.
Yeah.
That they set her up, and actually, by the way, she thinks that the business owes her an apology for setting her up. The nerve of this woman, is it too much Botox to the brain? What is it?
The balls, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, they're all hypocrites. They're all hypocrites. The speaker always wears a mask, except when she's caught on CCTV footage when she thought no one was watching.
Right.
Give me a break.
The speaker always wears a mask when she thinks people are watching her.
Yeah, so I guess she just did this, and she actually made an apology, and she said, I apologize for falling for the setup.
Yes!
Wow. I know, the balls on this woman is nuts. That's crazy. This is just the most recent, but I think there was the governor of Nevada just got caught hanging out listening to live music at a place when everyone else can't. Ruth Bader Ginsburg officiated a wedding recently without wearing a mask. These are all people that have said no, saying that laughably there should be a national mask mandate, even though none of them have the power to do that.
That hasn't stopped them before, Jason.
No, and it won't in the future, really. But they're all hypocrites. It's time to open up. It's time to actually pretend that there's a constitution that allows people to provide for themselves and their family, and you can't just lock them down like that. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Sure.
I wish Nancy's office would have called me. I would have spun it this way, that she was the first anti-mask protester in Northern California. She was going to lead the charge. She had switched sides, and she was going to help open up California and put people to work so they wouldn't starve. But no. She has to take the defensive position and start telling lies about what she's up to.
I mean,
she's so obviously lying.
Yeah.
She's so obviously lying.
Yes, it's incredible. Or, I mean, at least maybe say, like, make a reason for not wearing, right? Like, well, it got wet. Right, her hair is wet in the camera footage, just like, well, there was an accident and my mask got all wet and I had to take it off so we could dry it and then I put it right back on. I mean, even something other than just having the gall to just flat out be like, yeah, what you saw there, it didn't happen. She always wears a mask. I don't know what you're talking about. It's incredible to me.
It's
like the fiery but mostly peaceful protests.
Yeah.
Like it's like, don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you're seeing right now. I'm here to tell you what the real truth is.
It's the perfect contrast and the perfect example of that style of government, right? So it's like, we want all of you people to be as average as possible.
Yeah.
We're going to bring everyone down to a certain level, but don't worry, you'll all be equal. Except for us. Like, we can do what we want to do. Like we have, Elizabeth Warren talks about wealth taxes and like taxing everybody and all this stuff. She's a multimillionaire. Of course, like, she's already made her money off the system. Now she's in that elite class. So then she can sit down and say that. Same for Bernie Sanders, millionaire. All of them are millionaires that want to do this.
Right.
George Soros, billionaire. Of course he wants to turn the world to socialism. He's already in that elite class. He's not coming down to that level. And Nancy Pelosi's the same way. She's not coming down.
Yeah.
She can go in when everybody else can't go into a hairstylist. It's just not the little people.
Well, and we keep saying, I can't believe the gall of this woman. But then you look at how the mainstream media, how journalists treat these people, and you realize, oh, that's how they have the gall that they have, because they are never held to the same standard as all of us. After all of this news surfaced,
even that statement that she made,
yeah,
it was reported like, no worries, guys, we found out. She told us what really happened. She was set up. Now we can go back to business. Really, there was no scrutiny to it at all.
Well, here was the scrutiny. Politico reporter Carla Marinucci. Actually, she saw this footage and she said, okay, I have to ask upon seeing this, is it legal in California, a two-party consent state, to videotape someone in a private home or business without their consent? So the problem, not that Nancy Pelosi thinks that she's above everyone else and doesn't abide by the same rules as you and I. The problem actually is, did she consent to this videotape of herself, or should the salon owner be getting in trouble?
The journalists are trying to get her off on a technicality, basically.
It's incredible, Sheriff.
Well, when you're an elitist, it's a lot easier to have subjects rather than citizens. And when you have pawns called the news media to carry out your work, life is a little bit easier. So as we can, criticize her, my goodness, she just is trying to figure out how to make us more subjects than citizens. And it is amazing to me how much they believe that their own stuff and how much they can switch. Joe Biden said he was against fracking, and then now Donald Trump's lying about that, even though he said it
multiple times.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about with it's the most epic form of gaslighting I've ever seen in my life. They're like, do not believe your eyes.
That's right.
Like there's video. Someone put together a video of Joe Biden saying multiple times, I would ban fracking, I would ban fracking, I would ban fracking. And now he's like, Donald Trump's a liar if he's saying I would ban fracking. And you're like, but I just saw you say it.
Exactly.
It makes you crazy.
Sheriff, you might know more about this than I do, but I've lived in California. It seems like I don't think it matters for CCTV.
It doesn't.
That's exempted, I believe.
I don't know how the law in California, but I think you're correct. Is what I've heard, that obviously it's a surveillance video, and I think it was legally there.
And most businesses have like something on the door, like a sticker or something.
Yeah, and it is legal. There were attorneys who came and said it is legal to post security camera footage. CCTV footage is not. You don't have to have consent. To record them or also to post it. So,
dang it.
Sorry, Nancy. You
tried
can't
hard
use
on
that excuse anymore. And one more thing to point out on that. By the way, I did do a video on this on Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered on YouTube. If you have not yet subscribed, you got to go check it out. I mean, only if you enjoy watching, parody of Nancy Pelosi slurring her words, holding a giant vodka bottle. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. But it was interesting because she said, "Well, I didn't know the rules. I just had to depend on, these business owners to tell me what was going on." And it's like, but this is where you live. This is like, so
the
if you can get away with that,
rules.
right, they're your rules and this is where you live. So if you can get away with that, so could I get away with that if I just went in and I had, you know, the sheriff called on me or I had the police called on me and they showed up? Could I get away with saying, well, I didn't know those were the rules?
I guarantee you if the president said California should open up their salons, she would know the rules pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
She'd be like, oh, no. He wants old people to die, and they're all supposed to be locked down. She'd know them very, very quick.
Well, she believes in the science of wearing masks. So don't forget that, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we want to thank our sponsor, Rough Greens, this segment. If you have a dog, I know your dog is part of the family. That's how we treat our dogs here in America. They're like super spoiled, and we let them up on our beds, and it's really gross when you think about it, but for some reason we still do it. But the problem is that our dogs don't live long enough. If you want to extend your dog's life and make sure that they are thriving and they are the healthiest condition that they can be in, you got to give them Rough Greens. Now, Rough Greens is not a dog food. It's a supplement that you put on top of your dog's food. It puts all of the nutrients that they need, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, probiotics, omega oils. It puts all of that back into their food because they're not getting it from the dry dog food. They kill all of that stuff out to give it that long shelf life so that it can sit on the shelf at Petco, but it's not giving your dog the nutrients that they need. Also, if you have a picky dog eater, she doesn't eat anything now until I put Rough Greens on it. But it's great because I know that she is not only getting her calories, but she is getting all of the things that are going to promote a happy and healthier lifestyle for her. Your dog's going to love it. Take the Rough Greens 14-day Jumpstart Challenge today. It is $14.95. You will see the difference in your dog in those 14 days or less, especially if you have an older dog. Help them out, help them increase their mobility, let them thrive the little life that they have. Dogs don't live long enough. Help them out with that. Go to roughgreens.com/blaze. That is ruffgreens.com/blaze. Back in a minute. Here you go, Jason. This one's for you since you didn't prepare for the show. The California General Assembly, this is, of course, comprised of a Democratic supermajority. They have advanced legislation that could ease the criminal punishment for LGBT adults who have sex with underage teenagers. Now, here are some of the details. The bill was introduced by State Senator Scott Wiener. There are some jokes there that I won't make. He is an openly gay man, and he seeks to prevent gay adults who sodomize or perform oral sex with underage teenagers from being automatically assigned to the sex offender registry in California. So the judge, Jason's like, but. The judge is supposed to now use discretion, if this bill passes, on assigning an individual to the sex offender registry if their victim was between the ages of 14 to 17 and the age difference between the offender and the victim is less than 10 years. So you can still be ages 14 to 17. I'm about to make his head explode. And as long as all of this criteria is met, the judges can now use discretion on whether or not to put these sex offenders in the sex offender registry. Have I blown your mind yet, Jason?
So hang on. So you can be, so if a 24-year-old man sodomizes a 14-year-old boy, that's up to the judge's discretion on whether he's a sex offender?
As long as the age difference is less than 10 years.
That's absolutely insane. That's like, it's up to the judge's discretion. It's like he can redefine pedophilia.
So that's exactly.
But only for the LGBT.
I told you at the top of the show, what did I tell you? I said they are helping pedophiles in California. That's what I told you.
This is evil. This is the only way to describe this. This is absolutely evil. I mean, they like the left. And I even think rightfully came down on that Milo, what's his name, guy?
Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, for alluding to something like this.
Yeah.
Then they came after him for it. But now it's completely fine for that to be law in a state. I don't got much to say to this. I can't. I used to live in California. I'm glad I'm out of there. I cannot believe it.
I don't know how anyone with a family can live there, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's time to leave. It is time to leave California if they're not protecting the children, because that's what they're doing. They're not protecting the children. And he is associating this with the regular gay movement, which I would think those people would go, wait a minute.
Yes.
Don't include that with us. That is pedophilia 101. It goes on all the time. And this is a tragedy. And I agree with Jason. It is just mind-blowing that they would do this. And it's going to, if it starts in California, they'll try to roll it across the country. And a 14-year-old with a 24-year-old.
Incredible.
That's how powerful some of these leftist movements have become. Like the LGBT movement they're bullies right now, and everyone is scared to push back on them at all. Even something like this, they got what was the vote again? I can't.
It was, the bill passed in the Senate by a 23-10 vote and passed the Assembly by a 41-18 vote.
Oh, that's,
so it's
insane.
It's heading to Governor, I always say that, Governor Gavin Newsom's desk for signature. So it will likely become the law of California.
That's fear.
Oh my gosh.
That is fear. That's like when a dictator gets 90% of the vote. Everyone's scared of him. Like they are scared of this lobby. And it's the same thing of like the Black Lives Matter right now. This is a Marxist incorporated organization, right? Marxism they even teach it on their website. That's like this, race and stuff, and all these other Marxist things after that.
Right.
Destroy the nuclear family.
Yes. Exactly. Destroy
all that.
All these things, but everyone is so terrified of pushing back on them. It's just now it's being taught in schools. It's being taught in schools.
It is interesting. Well, I should say it will be interesting to see whether or not, and you hit on this, Sheriff, there's more of some infighting within this particular special interest group, the LGBT group, because you're right. The majority of, I should say, every single gay person that I know is not, they are not on board with the trans movement and how they are trying to take over children and take over the schools.
They're pissed that they're involved in the acronym, period.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so that's why, so I wonder, I feel like we've heard a little bit of chatter from those people who are saying, okay, can we just take like the LGBs and we can just like go form our own thing, and the T's and the Q's and all those other letters of the alphabet, you guys can go get your own, because we are vastly different. And I wonder if we're going to see more of that, because you're right, it is bizarre that there isn't a movement. They're not decrying all of these things that have nothing to do with who they are.
That is exactly right, and I think we will hopefully see that rise up. This is incredible legislation that slipped under the radar for most places, and now here we are faced with it. And earlier there was a movement to separate into two states out there, and I would think that movement would kick up, but I don't know how that California is going to survive with the way they govern. I see them heading toward straight amoral and financial collapse.
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the two-state thing. California is very, very, I remember when I lived there. Grew up here, born here, but lived out there for 10 years. It was very
qualifying that.
I just want to make that clear, very clear. I'm not a California person at all. But it was a vast difference when you go up into the north. You went out to some of the farming communities. Even on some of the coasts, there's a lot of business. And they just they're not represented with their state government at all. It's mainly represented by people that live in Los Angeles, San Francisco, the big cities, and everyone else is left with putting up with this crap. There's definitely a point where they go too far, where they push too far. And we were talking before, I think it was off air, about how there's all these like pictures and videos of like fleets of moving trucks that have been seen in New York, and they're getting the heck out of there. I hope that, and I see this a lot within the black community as well, where they're like, maybe we've been lied to over the past few decades. Maybe they don't really give a crap about us. Maybe there is a different way. I'm hoping that that's where we're getting, and I think that steps like this, like writing into law that pedophilia is okay, this sounds ludicrous, but hopefully that wakes a lot of people up to this has gone way too far. I think right now it's a battle for the people that are in the middle right now. everybody that's very, very far left is in a base and they're not budging. They don't care. Like they don't care what happens. You know, like they don't care what Biden says, what they propose. They're just voting that way regardless.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people on the right that are just, we're so scared of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're very much in that case on our side as well. But there's a lot of people in the middle that can really jump either way. And I think that what we've seen with the polling, with the rioting, with the violence, they're starting to jump back over towards the right. Like they're like, okay, no, you guys are nuts. We know what you stand for. We're jumping back over. I think right now it's very much a war for the sane people that really could be, they're centrist. They could be Republicans, they could be sane Democrats, whatever.
Right.
And I want to cautiously say I think that we're winning that. I hope.
Yeah.
I think we are winning. I think the Hispanic community, the African American community are both starting to move over toward Trump because they don't want that. And they are absolutely conservative communities. And a lot of them are just realizing how conservative they truly are.
And a lot of them are having to deal with the damage and devastation that's been done to their businesses that they've worked their whole lives for, that have been burned to the ground for absolutely no reason at all.
The last poll that I saw for what Trump was getting with the black vote, I can't remember. It was like it was a crazy increase. It was like 10% over what it was just a few months ago.
Yeah.
Was it like 20-something percent?
28 to 30% is what I remember.
Okay, if that's true,
That would be...
this is a landslide.
Yes.
This is a landslide if that's true.
That would be huge. All right, we've got more to come, but we got to take a break. Back in a minute. I know, aren't you? But you're like, I don't want to believe it too quickly because that would be... All right, Tucker Carlson. I'm having trouble pronouncing people's names today.
You just say Taco Carlson.
I don't know what it's hard to speak. All right, just call me Joe Biden from now on. Tucker Carlson released some audio between CNN host Fredo Cuomo, okay, his real name's Chris, and disbarred attorney Michael Cohen, who is, of course, a convicted felon now. So two really great guys that showed the two men discussing Cuomo's time at ABC News and some alleged sexual harassment allegations that happened. Here's a little bit of that exchange. Listen.
You know, I'm always careful when I talk to media, you know? Right. Do you know how many phone calls I've gotten from people at ABC who say that reporters are calling and lying about things they heard about me to try to get stories about me when I was at ABC? Guys calling and saying, I heard he was the Charlie Rose of ABC, he used to invite women to the hotel and open his bathroom. Do I look like the kind of guy who's got to do that?
Sure, why not? But you're
lying. So I already have a good source that says that he forced one woman to have sex. I just want to know if you've ever heard anything like that. There is no woman. Right. There is none of that.
So here's the problem.
Women who do work there saying, oh yeah, you know, some of these men, and naming me with other guys, you know, we bumped into each other once in the elevator and he put his hand on my shoulder and he made me really uncomfortable. I mean, what the
It's a problem, and now you.
So I'm careful with the media always.
Right.
I've always told you the media is not your friend.
No.
Well, that's one thing we can agree on, Chris. That is one thing we can agree on. The media is not your friend.
Phone calls I've gotten from people at ABC.
I don't know why that's still playing. But so Chris Cuomo, now some people are saying, oh, this is a big fat nothing burger. This is not a big deal. Other people are saying, oh, he did sound a little bit mad and defensive. And it was a little bit odd that it seemed his entire problem was, do I look like the kind of effing guy who's got to do that? That's not really like a solid defense, I would say, which even Michael Cohen would know. He's not a great lawyer.
He sounded more concerned that he was being compared to an old Charlie Rose.
Yeah, he's like, do I look like a Charlie Rose? Look at me. Come on.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
The point that you made, you can't trust the media. No kidding, especially the network that he works for. But also, look, bro, it doesn't matter, because you've been telling us for the longest time, especially during Brett Kavanaugh, believe all women. Mm-hmm. So are you saying that that's not the case now? Because going on your standard, we should believe all these women that are accusing you, every single one of them while he was at ABC or whatever.
That's a great point. Believe all women. Sure.
That's exactly right. He brings up that standard. But if I had $1 for every bad guy that told me that very statement, do I look like a pedophile? Do I look like a rapist? Do I look like a burglar? Then I would be very, very rich. But so
do I look like a bald nerd to you?
Yes, yes.
Actually,
there you go. There,
it's
that's
funny you
perfect.
mentioned that. Yes.
But I think it's a very defensive statement, and especially in their hypocritical thing as believe all women, but not the women that talk about me or Joe Biden.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
There's a couple of exceptions.
Yep.
Donald Trump.
Not Tara Reid.
Brett Kavanaugh, right? Any woman who comes out against one of those men definitely believe, and as a member of the media, definitely run the story as if President Trump has already been convicted and is guilty. I mean, that's the thing that kills me with them, and you especially, Sheriff, dealing with the system, so to speak. There's always just the presumption of guilt at this point these days in the media.
Yes, there is.
You don't get a chance to have your trial play out. You don't have a chance to have your day in court. You are just, if there's any allegation, the media comes out against you, and you don't get the benefit of any doubt.
That is correct. If they're against you, then they're going to convict you before supper.
And people like Cuomo, like all these mainstream TV networks. They're the ones that were pushing that Donald Trump was going to be bad for women, that he hated women, because of allegations that are very similar to what we're seeing right now from some of these media moguls.
Yeah.
They were very, very flimsy. They were just based off a hearsay that happened years and years and years ago. But they were like, no. They made it the top story, right before the election on every single news network. Oh, well, this woman said this woman said this, whatever. Nothing came from any of them. But now we're seeing that the exact same allegations are happening to them.
Yeah.
But those are not to be believed. But the ones against the guy running for president, no, believe them.
I have to wonder, too, if this is just kind of a warning shot fired at Chris Cuomo. I wonder if there's more that Tucker has, because it did seem very odd that was the end of the conversation, that it just cut off. And I'm like, I wonder if this was just like hey, Chris, we got your number. Just so you know, we're just going to sit here and we're just going to hold this right here, and we're going to play it whenever we feel like it.
Feel free to sweat a little bit as you wait.
Right, exactly. Do I look like the kind of guy that would sweat? Yeah, actually, he does. All right, more to come. Back in a minute.
It'd be very Tucker Carlson-like.
I know. That's why I'm like, that would be a Tucker move right there.
Very, very good move.
All right, yesterday's poll. Who is pulling Joe Biden's strings? You guys said the radical left, almost 45%, followed by former Obama officials at 40%.
Which is basically the same thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Jason. I guess that was why they were so similar. And then Corn Pop. You guys have the conspiracy theory that Corn Pop is behind the scenes pulling Joe Biden's strings at almost 13%, followed by Wall Street. Yeah, I don't even think Wall Street is Wall Street a factor anymore, Jason?
No.
With the Democrats?
No.
They're not.
No, they're all probably voting for Donald Trump secretly. They'll never say that out in public.
Absolutely.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get in serious trouble if they said that in public.
I mean, there were multiple people from Wall Street and business executives that were saying that they were scared of Elizabeth Warren becoming president.
Right.
But we've seen the platform now for Sanders, and it's crazy far left. It's insane. It's basically the same thing as Sanders. What'd I say?
Sanders.
Yeah, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Well, because it would be the same as what Bernie Sanders would do.
Right. I mean, when Bernie Sanders is endorsing all of your plans and all of your new agendas, you gotta wonder what they're really up to.
Yeah.
It's not different if Bernie Sanders is agreeing with you. All right, today's poll: if the election were held today, who would win? Oh, this is a throwaway question. Trump or Biden? If the election were held today, this very day, who would win? I'm going Trump.
Yeah, I don't think it matters, really, unless something crazy comes out. We've seen the way that things are shifting. Trump would win today.
I agree. Trump.
I agree. But I guess that is if the Democrats, this is, I'm going to go ahead and say the poll, put a little asterisk. This is assuming that the Democrats don't, cheat, basically, through mail-in voting and all of the other things that we know that they're planning on doing. So add that little asterisk when you answer the question. You can go to the Blaze's Twitter to answer. Thank you guys for being here.